So on today's video, we're going to talk some more about the Big Block Miata. We're going to discuss what went wrong during the last burnout competition, and we're going to unveil to you guys some of the big plans for the future of this car. So welcome back to the channel, guys. This is the Big Block Miata, and if you watch the video of this car doing the burnout at CLEETUS Cars, you might have noticed towards the end of the clip, this thing actually had a cylinder go down. So we assumed at the time we had a burnt plug wire, maybe a spark plug fouled out because we're forcing 40 psi in this Holley carburetor. Turns out it's a little bit more serious than that. So we did a compression test on all the cylinders to see what was going on mechanically. Things were all over the place, but we had one cylinder that came up with a big goose egg, so we knew we had the problem right there. Now, what I did next is I put my leakage tester on it and looked at the cylinder under pressure with the valves closed. Turns out every bit of my pressure was coming out my intake. So what that tells me is when we were revving this thing to the red line trying to blow some tires, that piston came up and that valve hadn't had time to get back in its hole yet, and they kissed for just a second, but long enough to bend that valve so that it didn't seal any longer. So to fix that, I got to take the engine apart, take the cylinder head apart, replace the valve, reseat some things. It's a bit of work, but we're going to get back to the engine problems later. We're going to put this thing back together and drive it on 7 cylinders for a while because we've got some bigger fish to fry. So there are 2 major issues that I plan on addressing head on over the next few weeks with this car. First off, we got to address this fuel system. My little button got us through the event, but that is not a long-term solution for that. Now, the gas tank is mounted directly under the convertible top, which conveniently is directly over the rear suspension. So I knew I had to tear the rear of the car apart to correctly remove the tank. Now, once I get it apart, I'll be modifying that sending unit and getting it to flow a little better so my inline pump will be able to feed that carburetor. That's not really the hard part. The hard part is when I build this thing back, I want to have a solid axle underneath the rear end. Also, we're going to get rid of the Miata suspension in the front altogether. My plan is to cut this frame rail completely flush at the firewall, remove the strut tower, and start over with a whole different setup to hold the front of this car off the ground. If there was one thing to say about this idea, it would be that this is not going to be an easy task. In fact, some people may say this is not even possible, but isn't that what they said about the Big Block and the Miata to begin with? Nevertheless, we've got some sorting to do. We need to figure out where we're going to cut, what we're going to cut, and what we're going to replace it with. Next step is we need to put together a plan. So let me take you guys to my thinking spot, and let's see if we can figure out how to make this work. So I know what you were thinking I was going to show you, but in fact, we are at the salvage yard. When I need to get some measurements and figure out what can and can't be done, I come out here with the tape measure and get my plan together. Now, what I want to try to do is find a car like this. This is a SN95. This is a 94 Mustang. They're pretty much the same from 94 all the way to 04. So we can even grab one like this, the newer body style, old Calico here, and get everything we need out from under it. And if you guys have been in the used car market long, you know these cars are dirt cheap. But what I wanted to see was that right there, that frame rail. We did the measuring, we've checked everything. This should nearly be a bolt-in situation once we get the frame rails installed. These cars are absolutely a dime a dozen. This is perfect. So guys, I went to the yard, I measured some cars. Unfortunately, I didn't find a reason not to do it, so it looks to me like I'm committed to making this happen. You may be asking yourself right now, why would a person spend all this time, effort, and energy into putting a Miata and Mustang together instead of just building a Mustang? Well, we all know what people think about Mustangs, and I don't want to be that guy. Plus, anybody can go buy a car and order parts out of a catalog. I'm not impressed. This is one of one Big Block Miatas, and it's about to be version 2 of that car. What I was really concerned with the most was the capability of the suspension to handle the weight. We got 800 pounds of cast iron sitting up there that wasn't there before. So with this Mustang suspension, I know it's a little bit beefier, more robust. It'll be able to handle the weight of that car a little bit better. It's going to widen my track up just a bit. Also, we're going to throw the straight axle in the rear. We're going to mount some torque boxes and try to get this thing lined up and do a 8.8 solid rear axle as well. So really, I mean, I think it's going to be a win all the way around if I can pull this stuff off. We've got a few months still till April. I think I've got time, but I'm going to go ahead and get started just as quickly as I can. So if something goes wrong, I got time to punt, so to speak. So it looks like we've got a whole lot more work to do, but we certainly have a whole lot more time to get it done this round. But I think that's going to do it for this video, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.